momentum has been building, and it is finally time.
I'm not going to miss these games. They're incredible.
This is hype. This is what we've been waiting for. All going to come down to this.
All the marbles on the line here.
They are the best team we have in Overwatch League. This is going to be so fun to watch.
Welcome to the Blizzard Arena. Are you guys ready for stage 4? That's right. Today is the first day, and I would say the theme of the day is new. We got a new meta, new players, new coaches, and most of all, we got a new hero. Are you guys excited to see Brigitte being played on stage? Well, we're gonna see a lot of her the next couple of weeks, the final stretch for all of those teams to qualify for the Season 1 playoffs and punch their tickets to the grand finals over in New York. So still a lot on stake for all of those teams. But you know what? Stop the talking. We want to see some games here, right? And we got a great day of matches ahead of us, so let's just get this payload rolling.
What's good, Blizzard Arena? Make some noise one more time. Stage 4 is officially underway. I don't hear y'all. What's going on, man? I know I'm not in the front of the arena, but make some noise. Guys, I'm your host, Malik Forte. Puck's a little under the weather today, so I'm going to give him some well-needed rest. So send him some get well messages on social media, please. And yeah, I guess trying hard got me here to the big desk. Finally.
You're doing a good job, you know?
Yeah.
You've taken some notes from Golden Boy, hyping up the crowd. You got it.
Thank you. But we're just getting started. Guys, I am joined by Brent and Reinforced, the guys. And guys, stage 4 is here. It's like we blinked our eyes and we're here finally. How you feeling about it?
I'm feeling fantastic. I don't know about you, Johnny. I mean, we've got Brigitte coming in as well. Tanks. So excited about tanks all the time. But I gotta say this, right? I've seen a lot of these pro players mispronouncing Brigitte. It's Brigitte.
Brigitte.
Not Brigitte, not Bridget.
You almost got it.
I don't know, Brogan, whatever. I've heard some ridiculous words coming out of these pro players' mouths. Brigitte,
We'll
Brigitte.
teach you. It's fine. Yeah,
Thank you.
I just call her Bree. It's just much easier to call her Bree. Yeah. But anyways, it's the last stage of the regular season and the playoff race is starting to heat up. At the end of stage 4, we will have the official stage playoffs like we always do, but we'll also know our top 6 teams that will qualify for the season playoffs. So let's take a look at our overall standings heading into stage 4. The NYXL have already clinched a playoff spot. They can basically lose every game this stage and they'll steer in it. But who else can see it? Who are our bubble teams, Brent?
I'm looking at the middle of the pack here. Like, this is actually shaking it up so much with a new meta coming into the stage 4. This is going to be very exciting.
Who do you think is going to miss out, Brent?
Who is going to be missing out?
On season playoffs?
I'm going to say the Shanghai Dragons.
Well,
come on now.
Okay.
It's true. You know, you asked me, mate. I'm just playing with the logic.
900 IQ. Can't be him.
I like that you're playing it safe, my guy. All right, so, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see who sneaks into the last few spots. And guys, remember, this is all leading up to our first ever grand finals at the season playoffs. It's going down at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn! So, get your season tickets, or get your tickets this Friday at 7 a.m. Pacific. Make sure you do that. 5 Deadly Venom, guys. I know you're watching. You better get your tickets. All my friends from Far Rockaway, you better get your tickets as well. Anyways, let's get into today's schedule. Later today, we'll have Seoul versus the LA Valiant. We'll have Dallas versus Shanghai. Can the Dragons get that first win? We'll find out. But right now, we're kicking stage 4 off with the LA Gladiators going up against the San Francisco Shock. This match is going to be a scrappy one. We have the 8th overall seed, the LA Gladiators, going up against the 9th overall seed, the San Francisco Shock. So we're now on stage 4, and every map matters for these teams.
Yeah, absolutely does, Malik. And again, like we've been mentioning pretty much all the time so far, is that stage 4 is going to be shaking things up tremendously. We're not going into this dive metagame anymore. It is a big mix. From what I've seen in the scrims, from what I've seen of the recent results when I've been watching these teams practice, it has been up in the air, and it is going to be really quite difficult, I think, for a lot of these teams where they've been, they've been pretty much the middle of the top of the pack. Now they're going to start to be upset because a lot of these teams, they're strong on the tanks, they're strong on the Reinhardt, the Zarya, Zarya. Brigitte's now coming in as well. Very powerful hero, and I want to see what she's able to do. And this is really the question mark for me is what teams are going to be taking advantage of Brigitte the most?
Absolutely, and the reason is because she shuts down dive, which we've seen pretty much all of the Overwatch League so efficiently. Tracers, I mean, you can't play Tracer pretty much anyway. So we'll see some Winston with some Genji perhaps, but mainly we're looking at Reinhardt to be back introduced into the meta. We've seen some Orisa in the past, but Orisa is going to be way more common these days anyway. So a lot more sturdy tanks because Brigitte, she can mess you up.
Right. What about the maps, man? Because
We switched up the map. So earlier map pools, we've seen a lot of Widowmaker played because, you know, we have the high ground and there's so many big areas. Now we're moving into a map pool with some more close spaces, especially King's Row. That's my favorite map. If you
So excited. Yeah. So excited.
We have Blizzard Wall in there, which you can play tanks on as well. Hanamura, Horizon, these are all great tank maps. So we're going to see less dive in general, less Widowmaker, and really just favors a different meta. We saw Raucus talk about the Houston Outlaws, how that favored their map pool, of course. And these are the maps we're playing today. We're starting off on Blizzard Wall. The Gladiators are 5-0 on this map, and with tanks coming into the meta, Fisher on the Reinhardt brand.
Oh, it wasn't even like the case of where we weren't seeing tanks on Blizzard World before. A lot of teams like to run it, you know. Fisher in particular, his Reinhardt, this is something that a lot of people have been bigging up. They've been hyping it up. They are scared of Fisher's Reinhardt. I mean, again, the most handsome main tank, the best main tank. You know, you're scared of him in particular, man. That 7-second Earth Shatter he got against you was ridiculous.
Oh, boy,
I've never been human. Like, that is actually nuts. Fisher is a really solid player all around. And again, this opens up doors for Gladiators coming into this match. Now they can play the dive, they can play the tank compositions. They're looking like a scary team to really start to take some wins away from some of the stronger teams in this stage 4.
Yo, I got to be real with you. I don't think I watched that Fisher clip less than 100 times. Yeah, I'm sorry, my guy. I'm sorry. Now, you know, I think the big question that has been posed to each team in this meta is, are we playing Brigitte and who is going to be playing her? So in lieu of Puckett's predictions, we're going to be doing Malik's metas instead. We're doing things my way since I'm here at the desk. Who do you guys think is going to be playing Brigitte throughout the stage? We'll start with you, Brent.
I was torn on it, personally. I was, you know, coming into this thinking, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of the pro players. They've been saying, you know, the flex DPS role is the one that they're going to be playing it on. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you've got Shuffle being a capable Zarya player. Maybe they're going to be putting Bishu. Bishu is going to be my pick for the Brigitte player for Gladiators here today. I feel like that fits the role quite nicely, you know, because you don't really want to be playing Diva too much, which Bishu is going to be playing mainly.
Do you think that's going to affect their communication? Because Bishu is kind of like the beacon when it comes to that, you know?
Maybe, but Brigitte is a pretty easy hero, you know. She's a pretty easy hero, you know. She's nice and easy to play. You know, fundamentally, she's pretty simple in the way she works. So, like, Bishu shouldn't have too much to think about.
What do you mean?
What do I mean?
Aim
5-second stuns. 5-second stuns, Johnny.
All right, what about you, Johnny?
Well, I've thought about the San Francisco Shock, and they have a bit more narrow hero pools, I would say, and Nevix is really the flex player of this team, in my opinion. So I think we'll see less of Nevix on the Diva, and he'll swap to the Brigitte, and then back to the Diva. Sinatra is a fantastic Zarya player, and given Tracer is out of the meta, I mean, Sinatra is tilted, no more Tracer for him. So we'll see Sinatra on the Zarya and Nevix on the Brigitte. That's my pick.
Well, hey, man, they got the versatility necessary. So anyways, Blizzard Arena, are you guys ready to start the first match of the day? Yeah? All right, well, let's go ahead and bring out our first team, the hometown LA Gladiators. Last time we saw the LA Gladiators, they were defeated in a sad match against the Boston Uprising. So they're looking for some redemption today.
I mean, no one beat the Boston Uprising last stage, so they shouldn't feel too bad about themselves.
Apart from New York.
Apart from New York, but that doesn't count, you know. 10-0 still. Regular season, Brand. Regular season, of course. But this is going to be a very interesting team moving into it. Sure, will we see some of his Zarya today, Brad? We don't really know what this team is going to do. One of the more flexible teams, I would say, when it comes to their DPS players, and then as well the tank players, as I said, sure, fantastic Zarya. We don't really know what we're going to see today, Brad.
No, it's very much up in the air. Like we mentioned as well a little bit before, Johnny, you're excited to see Fisher's Reinhardt in particular. That, I imagine, will be coming out at some point just because of how much the maps do suit it. I mean, we were seeing Reinhardt on Blizzard World before in the past when it wasn't, when Brigitte wasn't even in the game. So I'm looking forward to this match today. Gladiators as well. This is a team that I pinned at the beginning of the season to be a bit of an underdog, a bit of a dark horse.
And they aren't in the season playoffs yet, but this could be their stage to really get in there. Maybe dethrone Valiant in the standings. I could definitely see that happen.
Can you imagine that?
That was sick.
I love it. I love it, Johnny. I love it. But these players in general, like you look at this team, Silkfred is going to be coming in as well. This is an interesting one in general because we haven't seen a lot of Silkfred being incorporated into the team lineup, but it looks like they do have a strategy in mind for Blizzard World in particular, at least.
All right. Well, that's the starting lineup right there. Let's see who they're going to be facing off against today and bring out our next team. Everybody, welcome to the stage, the San Francisco Shock. All right, the San Francisco Shock are 12 and 18 overall. They're looking to make their playoff hopes a reality today. What are you guys thinking?
Well, they do have a chance, but it's going to be very tough for them. They know it's a very tough road ahead of them. They need to pretty much win out this stage in order to make the season playoffs. They could do it, Brent. Do you want to hype them up?
I'm going to hype them up a little bit here because, do you know what? They've had some recent additions, not in the player section, but actually the coaching staffs themselves.
Oh, you're right.
Krusty moved over from Boston recently. Now he's going to be coaching San Francisco Shock. And in my opinion, that is a huge addition. It's very hard to measure how much a coach actually had in the success of a team. But I feel like Krusty can add a lot of knowledge, a lot of stability, and we got to cut that out.
Cut it out, bro.
It's not 2014 anymore. I don't know if anybody's told him.
He's still a teenager, still 18 years of age. Still has time to grow up.
What does that make us, Johnny?
Well, I'm
slightly
22.
higher than... okay,
Yes.
this is hardly old to be honest.
No! We stopped it!
Come on, man.
No! Come on!
It.
We gotta
Leave it.
come up with something new, man. Throw a Millie Rock in there. Come on, something else, man. And that is the San Francisco Shock starting lineup. You know what? They got that whole stage 3 to really gel, so we're going to really see what they're made of now. The team's been playing together.
Super's Reinhardt. Watch out.
Okay.
Watch out.
You ready?
All right.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, Blizzard Arena, give it to us one more time if you are ready to get stage 4 kicking off today. There it is. There it is right there. And with that, we're going to go ahead and toss it over to our casters, Monty and Doa.
Hey guys, I don't know what was going on in that desk segment, but don't worry, the games are going to start soon. That's right, we're kicking off stage 4. It's a new world, and we have to figure out if any of the teams in the Overwatch League can successfully live in it. It's going to be very different, isn't it?
It is going to be quite different than what we've seen before. Quite different, I think, than what we've seen in the last year of Overwatch,
for sure.
honestly. So the teams, they're trying to get used to it as well. We probably aren't going to see a real solid meta develop for a while. It's times like these where we can see some major upsets as certain teams are going to figure out stuff faster. Other teams will be copying them, trying to catch up. So it's going to be a wild ride, but it should be a fun one.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm actually really excited about this meta because we have had, like a year and a half of dive pretty much exclusively as comps played in the professional scene. And now we're going to have some dive, but we're also going to have a lot more different stuff. We're going to have a lot of Ryan Zarya. We're going to have a lot of triple support comps, which should be cool. Obviously, Brigitte is huge in the meta now. And I think we're going to see a lot of experimentation from these teams. I think we're going to see Doomfist. I think we're going to see Mei once teams realize that she's much better than they think she is. And yeah, we're going to see a lot of wild stuff for sure.
Yeah, it should be really interesting. We are going to start off on the hybrid map this time.
Yep.
And as the desk showed a lot of those map results, so far the Gladiators undefeated on Blizzard World. But again, with the new meta, things can play out very differently than we saw previously.
Yeah.
You also notice that, for example, the San Francisco Shock have never won a game on Horizon, but it's different meta and many different players on the side of the Shock. So even though I can definitely say they were the worst Horizon team in the league, I doubt they are anymore.
Well, that's the thing, is that like all of the results so far in the Overwatch League matter very little going into stage 4 because things have changed so drastically. And I mean, you know, we've all been watching teams scrim a little bit here and there, and all the teams are like, we're figuring this out at the same time as everyone else is. And that's going to be fun because we just get to see teams kind of discover things as we go.
And you alluded to the triple
she is.
support composition. It will be Nevix going to play the Brigitte for the Shock. Sinatra, as the desk discussed, Long, a great Zarya player. Silk Thread will be Zarya for the Gladiators. And Surefour, interestingly, okay, he's going to switch over to the Pharah.
Okay.
They have hydration, so probably he will not be the Doomfist player on the Gladiators.
I would think so, yeah. It is going to be triple support versus triple support. You see this a lot. You got the Ryan Zarya in there as well. And then what DPS you play is kind of the flexible thing right now. Surefour on the Pharah, obviously, Architect on the Junkrat. But you got to be careful with the Junkrat right now. As Gladiators come in, you can give that Zarya a lot of charge towards her ultimate with that hero.
Yeah, Super also getting knocked around a bit. Has to fall behind his
Super
shield.
low.
Does get to healed up, though.
That was a close one. Got the healing. Meanwhile, Bishu swinging away as they try to force in there. See the Zarya bubble on the Reinhardt. Sinatra down, though. There's a charge right into Super. Fissure takes him out with his own Reinhardt. And so far, so good for the Gladiators. Earthshatter comes through. Doesn't really do a whole lot, but they do manage to push Shock off of it. And I think that's going to be point A.
Yeah, I think you're right, Doa. Surefour
probably not
here.
gonna fight that.
Yeah, just gonna poke up, try and deal some damage over the top. Did have the over armor
Time for
pair
snacks.
of Bishu's repair kit. And Sherpor will be swapping off here for the second stage of Blizzard World, back to the classic Widowmaker, which has dominated Point B on Blizzard World and should continue to do so in this patch.
Yeah, Architect on the Widowmaker as well over on the Shock side too. Meanwhile, Silkthread pretty charged up going in. He's going to have that Graviton Surge really soon. Shock trying to hold the door for the moment. Meanwhile, it's going to be Valkyrie used by Moth. Used by both sides, actually. So waiting for it. There's a grab coming in for the Gladiators, rather. Now one comes in for San Francisco in response. Earthshatter goes through, but it's going to be Fissure swinging away. And the thing is, Fissure made a name for himself on the Reinhardt. This is going to be a meta for him.
It's definitely great for Fissure. Super has actually never played Reinhardt in Overwatch League. Get only one stage that he's had as a professional player so far. Did play it back on his old team a lot, LG Evil. But here will be his Overwatch League Reinhardt debut. And right there, his shatter was blocked. So couldn't get it off as the counter grab came in from the LA Gladiators, and they keep on rolling. Also, as a reminder, this is the patch where the spawn, or the point has been moved forward, so it will be easier to capture Blizzard World Point B.
Yeah, you can see us move way up there. Wow, Fissure knocks Moth out of the air with a fire strike. How about that? He's got his Earth Shatter ready, goes right into the payload. Sinatra in a lot of trouble. Bishu takes him out with a shield bash. Super comes swinging in himself, though, for an equalizing blow. Meanwhile, Sleepy with that Transcendence, helping Shock hold for the moment. After the Gladiators lost their Reinhardt, they did kind of have to pull back there.
As Super
real.
With a great charge to try and stop the Gladiators from moving forward. Fissure picked off, and the rest of the team cleaning up behind that. Sherpor has his ultimate available right now to try and carve a path. He's not going to use the Inversight yet. Does pop it now as the rest of his team approaches the payload. Fissure is back.
All right. Back in action. Gladiators getting things ready. Payload's still getting stalled out at the end of B, but you can see it's nearly there already. The endpoint for B much closer. There's another grab coming in for the Gladiators side. Fissure tries to charge right through it. Oh, responsing the Earthshatter coming in from Super. Looks like Gladiators will be okay though with the Transcendence. Meanwhile, Silkthread, a lot of charge on that Zarya. Gladiators pushing through that, they'll take B.
Yeah, both of the rallies almost up right now. They are going to push through B. Looked like Nevix positioned himself to stop the charge by using the shield bash on the opposite side when Fissure was attempting that flank. Still, the Gladiators are going to win the fight.
And there's that rally from Bishu, just giving his team the extra armor that's left over. 150 armor going to sit on that team right now, and then he can start building towards his next ultimate in the next fight. So this is something you're going to see a lot. The Brigade ultimate used outside of combat, that's exactly what Shock is doing right now. Get used to it. We're going to see it all stage. Oh, Sinatra comes in with the grab. They have the follow-up, though. Everybody's staying up. Remember, they had that extra armor, but Shock able to roll right through there anyway, and that's Gladiators going to be pushed back.
And that's a big win for the Shock because they hold on to both of their support ultimates. Sinatra with the sneaky flank on the grab, waits for the cart to push past the doorway that he's in, lands the Graviton Surge, and even then a late kill onto Shaz.
Yeah, Sleepy coming in with those long-range Zen picks like he's certainly known for. Now, this meta, and we haven't talked about it yet, but this meta is really all about ult management, right? And ult economy. It's going to be way more vital than we saw in the previous stages.
Yeah, it definitely is. And speaking of those ults, Fissure coming in with the Shatter will be matched by Super, but it's going to be a hard push for the Gladiators. They've got to work up some more.
Oh, stun onto Super, opens it up for the Earthshatter to come in for Fissure. Rez comes in, though, Moth protected by the Transcendence to get the tank back in the action. So Gladiators, I think, with a good attempt there. Now they're going to go for the grab. See if they can clean it up that way. Sinatra taking a lot of damage. Going to be okay for the moment. Gladiators going to dedicate the Transcendence to this one, too. They did get Super, so why not? Yeah, he's going to wade in, but there's a shot onto Silkthread. Either way, Gladiators still winning that fight. They're rolling towards the end of C.
And Gladiators did a good job of staggering their Shatter and their Graviton to make sure that they were going to push through the two support ults. They're coming up, and Big Goose has a Valkyrie. This grab from Sinatra has to be huge.
That's right, 99%. Now he's got it. We'll see how he decides to use it. No divas in the game right now, so you don't have to worry about it being eaten. So you can be a little bit more aggressive with the grab than you could in the other meta. You had to worry about Diva with the defensive matrix. There's a grab coming in. Fissure charging back to try to protect his key team. Turns around with the Earthshatter. Sinatra caught by it, but Super catches Fissure with his own, and that's going to be Shock winning the fight. Moth right there with the res, and yeah, just a reset from Big Goose, and now about 2 minutes on the clock for Gladiators to finish this one.
Yeah, Big Goose still has the Valkyrie. Silk Thread switched to Tracer temporarily, but is now on the Zarya again. There's still enough time for him to farm another Graviton. They may be looking a wholesale switch, though.
Yeah.
But around the side, as we take a look, they will be flanking around.
And Nevix has that rally. Bishu used his recently. And they're just going to bide their time here. You gotta watch out, those Reinhardts can get their ult so fast. You can see Zarya bubbles on both Reinhardts to try to make sure they don't get stunned by the Brigitte. You're gonna see a lot of that too. Team's trying to predict when that stun's gonna come in. Architect finds a shot onto Surefour. So meanwhile, the Widow v Widow battle happens. Rez comes in onto Surefour, all right. Still a stall. Everyone taking Decker Kane very seriously in the download section of this map. Stay a while and listen.
Everybody's staying a long time. We're going to see a lot more of this point C that we saw in stage 3.
Rally from Nevix. They're going to try to go in with that armor. Sleepy gets the kill on the Silk Thread. They're going for it, but there goes Sinatra. Maybe knocked off there by Bishu. Shock still crushing this defensive fight. They had the extra armor to do it. Now the thing is Gladiators are going to come back in with more ults themselves here.
Yes, they are. Bishu nearly with the rally. The rally combined with the shatter may be enough to push them the last few meters that they need to finish Blizzard World, but they have one push left. Silk Thread, it's going to be a while before he can get this Graviton. Sinatra should be up first.
I mean, protecting Sleepy is going to be pretty paramount for Shock because they're going to need that transcendence if other members of the team get caught in the CC from Earthshadow, that crowd control. Well, we will see. They can do it. 15 seconds to go. Bishu pops that rally, getting that extra armor built up. They're going to go in right about now. Both Reinhardts with the shatters. Nevix down. Surefour with a big one early. Swapped over to that Junkrat. Not expected by Shock, maybe. Grabs goes down. There's a transcendence for both teams. Earth shatters come through. Don't accomplish all that. No, never mind. I spoke too soon. Shock coming up big with that Earth shatter. And Architect taking the advantage. Triple headshots coming out from this guy. Just picking him off as a lane prone, and that's going to be Shock holding the Gladiators before they can finish Blizzard World.
What a huge play from Architect in the end.
Kidding.
Getting that 3K during the crowd control, critical to the hold from the San Francisco Shock, and they will successfully prevent the Gladiators from finishing the map. We're going to take a look from Architect's perspective. Look at that, flanking Widow on the side, taking everybody out.
All right.
He's gonna get Surefour as well. Brilliant play, and that's a reaction to him seeing the Junkrat swap because he knows he's gonna have a free sightline on the side. Really, what's great about the Shock is Architect has been getting into this team in terms of their coordination, their teamwork, and to set up that play, knowing that they would have the grab faster, to set him up on the flank made a huge difference in that fight.
Yeah, and that's a kind of cool little like combo stuff we're going to start to see a lot in this meta too, is that like, hey, well, that CC is coming in, the Reinhardt shield is occupied elsewhere. I can start to kind of find some picks on people that aren't going to be protected for it. It's going to be so different. I mean, we touched on it too with the Zarya ultimates. I mean, before you really had to be careful when you threw in those Graviton Surge. You saw a lot of people dive in and shoot at the floor to have it not get eaten up. But now that Diva isn't going to be quite as prevalent in the meta, we're going to see a lot more grabs just kind of flying around. I say that though, but now Gladiators on their defense are going to go back to something a little bit more familiar.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I think they'll probably only stick with this for the point A defense, trying to throw the Shock off. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Doa. Having no more Diva, or very little Diva, as of course as we see one in the meta, is going to change a lot of how the Zarya plays, because then it's about how are you going to respond to the Graviton when it comes out. Are you going to be separated so they can only catch a couple of people? Are you responding with your own support ultimates to try and stay alive? Are you counter-grabbing? There's a lot of strategy that has to go into this.
Yeah. Right now, Sleepy on the Ana, probably going for that sleep dart onto Bishu if he can find it. Doesn't hit it. Is he going to switch back? No, he's not. And Moth actually going to be on the Lucio too. So when you make an attack like this, you're hoping to build up Sound Barrier and Rally, so you have these two crazy support ultimates to take the next point. So this is kind of a forward-looking strategy for Shock. So far, not so good, though, as they lose Nevix early. Big Goose gets a res on Shaz on his side, though. There's a shot from Surefour onto Architect. So Gladiators holding for the first push anyway.
Yeah, they are going to have to back off. Nevix got caught in the trap that was left by Silk Thread in the doorway. and then focus down immediately thereafter with the res on Shaz.
Yeah.
No problem for the side of the Gladiators to hold on. Now San Francisco Shock going to come around the left side, attempt a different approach. They don't want to go through the main choke point. Going to try and go for the point itself now that they know that there's a Junkrat.
Yeah, grenade comes through. All right. And is actually pretty decent in this meta as far as what her anti-heal can do with that biotic grenade onto teams that clump up. Riptire coming in for Silk Thread, could turn this push around in a hurry, gets sleepy. Architect gets him though. Big goose there for the res onto the Junkrat. Super still swinging away, one tick already taken by San Francisco Shock, but Bichu's gonna run him over. And Gladiators pushing back. Shock's still struggling a little bit here.
They are, Doa, but the nano boost onto Super nearly got him all the way to the Earth Shatter.
was
So their
close,
next push is going to be the big one. Actually, they're not. They're not even going to go for the Shatter. They're going to switch to the Winston instantly.
Yeah. I mean, if the other team isn't running Brigitte, you can go back to the dive because you're not going to worry about your Winston or whoever's diving in getting immediately stunned and killed.
It's a recognition the Shock have had.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to forego those ultimates just to make sure that you're going to have the winning combination or a team fight, and they can play around the grab still, which Sinatra's going to have very soon.
That's right. Sure 4 with that infra sight. Keep an eye on everybody if he wants to. Gladiators a lot of ultimates actually. I mean, the problem with on Shock's side is that when you make these kind of swaps with your heroes, with multiple heroes, another great shot from Sure4, you're gonna have a big ult disadvantage too. And ooh, that Mercy not quite in range. The res there, but Bishu gets one onto Super, so that's gonna be Shock back to the drawing board again.
I mean, what really hurts there, though, is the rally was wasted.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
the rally was used, and they had 2 deaths immediately.
Yeah.
So Moth is going to retain a little bit of that armor, and so will Sinatra, but otherwise they are going to have trouble trying to get into this next fight. Rally not used, and LA Gladiators at 6 ults right now.
I kind of thought we were going to see Nevix change there, too, with that rally being used. You know, you just get armor on whoever you can, swap him over to someone else. They're going to go for kind of a triple tank dive thing with Sinatra having that grab. So.
This has to work for the Shock. There's a minute left, and now they know where he is. Sure4 doesn't even have to use the infrasight. And then as soon as they see him flanking around, they pop the infrasight, knowing that they were up to some shenanigans.
It's kind of a confused combo. We'll see if Shock can make it work. Grab into the wall there. Oh, Silk Thread comes in with the tire onto Super. Nobody there to try to follow up Sinatra's ultimate from the Zarya. Shaz gonna dive down at the end of that Transcendence. Shock in a lot of trouble here. Bishu has the ultimate too to try to push him back with the self-destruct. Just gonna jump onto Architect. Sure4 finishes off Sinatra, and 40 seconds now for Shock to try to make something happen here.
It's Tracer time for Sinatra. You can't stay on this Zarya any longer. You have to make something work in these last 30 seconds, and he's gonna move on to that hero.
Yeah, I mean, the comp switch was a good idea, but they swapped pieces of it at a time, and they were never able to quite get that cohesion with the dive comp to really make it work. We'll see if they can in their last push.
Yeah, they have 1 tick, so they don't have too far to go, but that's gonna hurt. There's gonna be down a res immediately here. Sure4 doing a great job on this Widowmaker.
Yeah, man, he's been certainly clicking heads with aplomb today.
We have to use the trance just to get onto the point right now, most likely. Sinatra trying to distract them in the back line. Moth with the Valkyrie up, healing up on the point.
Got the AoE healing. We're into OT right now. Self-destruct comes in. No kills out of that one. It does bounce Sleepy around in his Transcendence. Primal Rage from Super. He built it quick enough that they've been able to kind of scatter the Gladiators a little bit here. But now he's going to start losing some health. Primal Rage done. Needs to stay safe. And there's Ghost Sinatra, Silk Thread with another one on the Junkrat. Super can't quite burn him down. He's got no health remaining here. And Shock in trouble. There goes Moth. There goes everybody. And I think that's going to be Gladiators taking Blizzard World. Certainly will be the Gladiators. Looking ready, and they're going to win our first map.
An emphatic win for the Gladiators, and they were expecting the Brigitte on the attack. What they were doing on the defense was running a composition where it was very difficult for the Brigitte to approach them. They had traps from the Junkrat. They had halt from the Orisa. You know, all these knockbacks. So it's going to be tough for the Brigitte to close that gap. And I think the Shock just stayed on it too long. They could have switched to dive earlier, and I think they would have had more success.
Sure enough. Well, we'll see if the adjustments come through. It's a crazy start to what will be a crazy stage. Don't go anywhere, guys. Game 2 coming up next.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Francisco with a good start. And Gladiators, this is the fight they wanted. Sleepy with the kill.
Wow, Dante. That's just confidence. And it's time for Surefour to let it rip.
Sinatra with the finishing damage, but Architect still yet untouched. Shock nearly has it. They get it there.
Hello and welcome back. That was map number 1, and prior to the match, I actually got to talk to the players of the San Francisco Shock and the LA Gladiators, and I wanted to know their thoughts on the new hero, Brigitte. And they said that generally all pros here in the Overwatch League agree that she's currently in a great state, balance-wise. They all said that she really brings this different kind of compositions, versatility and flexibility, which we've been lacking a little bit in the past, but she's not turning into this must-pick hero. So you can still get away with not actually playing her. She is map-dependent, so none of the teams actually feels forced to play her, but they do enjoy it. And I certainly had a good time to see her on Blizzard World, but we're now diving into map number 2. Are you guys ready? They certainly are. So for all the action, let's head over to Monty and Doa.
Thanks, Zoe. That's right. Time to get ready for our second map in this series. Gladiators, I would say, looking a bit more prepared for handling the meta, at least on Blizzard World anyway.
Yeah, and I think in the past stage we saw, and we may still see the meta calcify here a little bit as we go deeper in. But what I like about the Gladiators, what they were running, is that it forces the attacking team to really change faster. And it looked like the San Francisco Shock were a little bit slow on that recognition about how to change back into like a Tracer, Genji, Winston dive composition, which should have been effective against what the Gladiators were running.
Sure.
But like you were saying in our last game, it's so much about ult economy, as Overwatch has always been, but now it's about when do you actually change your composition and sacrifice your ult economy to have a better composition against what you're facing?
That's
There's
right.
going to be a lot of more on-the-fly changes.
Dante in for Sinatra as we look forward to Horizon Lunar Colony. It's going to be our sub on the Shock side. And yeah, like you were saying too, and you can see where the confusion came in on the Shock side with their attack on Blizzard World, because you had Sinatra really close to the Graviton Surge. You're like, oh, that's a great ult, we really want to use it. But then the comp gets a little bit like half this, half that, and that's just kind of one of the things we're going to see as teams sort of like get used to when to switch, how to switch, etc.
And there was a lot of wasted time too, because Nemec had the rally, but then the rally wasn't used properly, so they ended up dying and then switching off of it afterwards, so lots of lost time.
Yep.
We're going to go into Horizon. This is a map we haven't seen since stage 1. And the San Francisco Shock were horrible at this map, but it is
0-5 in fact.
Yeah, it's a and not just 0-5, like bad 0-5. Not like it was 0-5.
Like, oh no and 5.
Yeah, oh no and 5. We'll call it that. Very well said. But it's an entirely different lineup. We are going to see different stuff, but for now, this is a very similar composition to what you would see on defense in stage 1.
LA Gladiators on the attack here, trying to go up 2-0 in this series. Shock trying to defend with the classic high ground Orisa defense, something we've seen many, many times. Meanwhile, Gladiators going for the dive. Hey, if you don't expect the Brigitte, you can go for that dive.
And they are going to be running the Sombra as well, a popular attack choice from stage 1. So at first glance, you know, we're seeing strategies here that would not be out of place many patches and many moons ago.
That's right. Maybe not so many moons ago. Very few moons ago.
It's the same moon, you know.
It's a map on the moon, too, really. Yeah. Here's a dive coming out of the high ground, trying to dislodge that Brigitte. Meanwhile, wow, it really is the Brigitte meta. Everything is Brigitte.
You got the Brigitte brain already.
It's Brigitte on the mind, that's for sure. Shock putting some pressure, or rather, Gladiators putting some pressure onto the point here. As they try to deal with the high ground, Sleepy down. Fisher with an early kill here. We've seen what he can do at close quarters, and yeah, Silverthread comes in for kill to Architect. They did lose Moth to Surefour as well, and Gladiators going to be steamrolling point A.
So the thing about this style of defense, and it seems like the San Francisco Shock are not remembering, or maybe they are remembering given their record, Horizon point
They
A
are
defense,
now, yeah.
is that when you're facing the Sombra and the Tracer, you have to defend on the point. You have to have somebody, usually the Junkrat there, to prevent yourself from getting flanked. And Chaz, he's getting really close to that EMP now. This could be a huge, huge win for the LA Gladiators. They have a great chance to snowball this, especially as the Shock switches Architect, Dante, Super, all of these players over. The ult economy advantage is going to be massive for Los Angeles.
A lot of momentum for the Gladiators coming into this one. Chaz has that EMP. Running back protected by Bishu a little bit. Sure4. Whoa, he and Fissure already get 2 kills coming into this one. Talk about momentum. They've got it in spades, and there's a big EMP setting up the kills on the Architected Super, and now it's just Nevix and Moth on their own on the point. They're not going to last very long. Gladiators with some respawns to handle, but they basically got B wrapped up. It's going to be very tough for Shock to push them off now.
I mean, there's really not a great way to come back from that. If you are the San Francisco Shock, they're going to try. Sleepy gets onto the point with a trance, but they still have to deal with the D.Va Bomb.
2 ticks already taken by the Gladiators. Sleepy down again. Super falling right before that. Shock does manage to muscle their way back onto it, but they're losing a lot of people in the process here. Gladiators can try to engage. Oh, that got eaten. Nevix gobbling up that pulse bomb. And Shock scrambling to stay alive on this map. They've given up 2 ticks already, but it looks like they're going to barely be able to hold.
Yeah, Shock should be really happy that they were able to hold in that situation, because it was disaster territory as Gladiators were coming up on 6 ultimates and couldn't actually punch through in the end.
Well, that's actually pretty amazing that they had that advantage, that they got that big fight win immediately on entering point B, and they still weren't able to take it.
We got some quick switches from the Shock side to try and stall out the point.
Yep.
We do see the tanks up top, as we are accustomed to seeing on Horizon.
Now here comes the dive onto Sure4, has to get away. He's got Big Goose there to help him out. Running from Architect now over on that Genji. That was nearly reflected back into his face. Meanwhile, Moth and Dante down. Gladiators starting to come out with an edge in this fight already. Gotta worry about Super in that Primal Rage, though. Self-destruct thrown in. Luckily, they have their own Winston shield to protect them. Silk Thread, another Pulse Bomb loaded up. Hopefully this one won't get eaten. For his sake, anyway. Nevix would love to eat that one. But they only need 1 tick left. Keep in mind, they already got 2. So they're starting with just a third needed on that control meter, and kills on Super and Moth certainly are gonna help out with that. Silk Thread really being patient with that pulse bomb. Oh, nice! Charges it for the punch on Architect. Another kill again. And it looks like that may be Gladiators wrapping things up. A stick on a Super, and he's gonna get Moth too. There we go. 4:02 on the clock for Gladiators. What a round.
And time again, though, we've seen the massive Primal Rage plays from Fissure.
Yeah.
He opened that up because he was pushing Sleepy away from the point and outside while his Transcendence was up. So he prevented the healing, which meant that the San Francisco Shock had no healing on the point, couldn't actually stay there. The rest of the team mowed them down, and by the time Sleepy got back, it was too late.
Well, both of the big pushes from Gladiators, too, managed to kill off 2 people on the Shock side before the fight really even began, too. So you're going into it with the 6v4 out of the bat. Let's watch Fissure do his thing here.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. He gets Moth, and then watch this. He knows Sleepy has Trance up, and Sleepy just can't even use it. He's trying to just stay away, so Sleepy has to use his Trance to get all the way back around through the primary choke point onto the point itself. So Fissure zones out both supports, and that's the ticket to the win. Yep. Every time the Gladiators look like they're in trouble, it seems like Fissure's able to clutch these situations out.
I mean, with as good as Fissure has been for the Gladiators since joining this team, this is really the stage where I think he's going to hit the high point of what he offers to these guys, because he's known right in the Overwatch League for how good he is on Winston, but before that, when he was in Korea playing in Apex, he was known for a pretty legendary Reinhardt as well. So this is a guy that can play both of those main tanks at an extremely high level, and that's going to be vital going into this meta where you need to make those changes map to map.
Yeah, indeed, and he's already showing it. As you say, 1 map, lots of Reinhardt play now. We'll be playing that Winston. Sure4 on the Sombra defense here on Horizon. So Gladiators, a team that even before the Sombra changes was prioritizing this hero, is back in a comfort zone where they can go ahead and play her. Standard 2-2-2 composition. Shock, they figured it out. They want to go dive.
All right. They're going to go for the dive on their attack here. Gladiators running that Junkrat, running that Sombra. And gonna waste no time trying to find where Shock is. They will. Here's Sure4. Looping around the side here. That's all right. A little bit of damage onto Sleepy. Let him know he's there.
Putting some chip damage down. Slow approach from the San Francisco Shock so far. It's not going to be that typical high ground defense, so everyone's going to head upstairs on the side of the Shock.
That's a nice hack onto Architect. He's in big trouble. Yeah, Sure4 finishes him off with a little bit of damage from Fissure as well, and That's the kind of hack you want, and that's a danger that New Summer presents in that she can hack people so fast now.
And if you're Architect, you just can't be there, right? You have to be with the rest of the team, so you can prevent the hack from going down, especially you have to stay with Nevix, who from
Dante
range can prevent that, and now it's just going to be cleanup for the Gladiators.
Rez comes in onto Dante, and we'll see how much they can push this. They do have Architect back at this point, so they'll be able to go forward at full strength for the moment. Bijou back into the point. You have to play the point pretty exclusively as the Gladiators for the defense here. Count on your flankers to do work. Super down. That's a good start for the defense, but Surefour taken out as well. So a little bit of pressure put on. Looks like they might be able to get a tick. They will. Surefour gets res. Gladiators need to re-engage this.
Yeah, they're still waiting for their main tank to come back, though. Super on his way back from spawn, so Shocker gonna have a hard time.
Oh, Sleepy down already. There goes Moth. Full supports eliminated by the Gladiators before the fight really even got started. Fidget's gonna bounce off of Nevix, and there goes Architect. It's gonna be just one tick given up by the Gladiators so far, and it's gonna be a nice little delay on the Nevix. Yeah, don't even need to kill him. Make him go back and swap, give up that ult charge.
He did get his reback. Yeah, he did get his reback right in the very end. So nearly, but push back out of that fight. Will rejoin the rest of his team. They're going to be working with 5 ultimates right now on the attack. Gladiators don't have a Riptire to slow this one down, but they do have an EMP.
Yeah, Surefour going in, engaging with the Translocator. Architect and Super dropping super fast. Silk Thread just raining death from, you know, a medium angle, I would say.
They read that really well. And you know what I said about Silk Thread not having a Riptire? Well, after getting 3 kills off the EMP, certainly does now.
That helps.
Great conservation of ults, though, on the side of the Gladiators. Only using the EMP. They collapse on the flank as the dive came in. Give them any chance. And Moth also used his Valk. So no Valkyrie in this next fight. Bit of a waste there from the Shock, but at least they don't have to contest with the EMP any longer.
And your Silk Thread after that EMP, just point and click at anything orange, and that works.
Throw some mines in there, no problem.
All it takes. A little more pressure. Here comes the blade. Architect can turn it around, but the Transcendence in response. Oh, he slashes down the Riptire. Goodbye, Surefour. Architect putting this team on his back and carrying them. They've only got, well, a little bit less than 2 ticks here, but they should be able to get the finish. There we go. After Bijou is eliminated, that should be A. Finally, Architect with a huge play on that Genji.
You know, he's a player that really likes to trade blades for trances, but he gets extra value. He cancels the Riptire and then gets back into the backline to kill the Junkrat at the same time. So he more than accomplished his goal. That's a massive blade from Architect.
No kidding. That's just not the kind of play you're going to be ready for if you're Gladiators. You think you've got it wrapped up, and then suddenly the Genji cuts your ultimate, cuts the Riptire out of the air, and then starts cutting your players apart too.
Dante on the flank right now does see Surefour. He's going after Shaz, has to recall away, getting close to that pulse bomb. Surefour causing problems in the back line.
And translocates his way to safety. Dante with the pulse bomb now. Super down. All right, early kill for the Gladiators to get their defense going. Shock in a little bit of trouble here. Don't know if they can get that res. Moth has the Valkyrie up and running, but it doesn't look like they could quite get to Super, so he's running back right now. There's a pulse bomb going in. Bijou's gonna get demacked. And probably D-Life pretty soon too. So Shock winning the fight on the edges of the point here, but they need to go in and start taking a little bit here.
Well, they're gonna be able to push in now. Still 5 members of the Gladiators up, so they're gonna be delaying this take as long as they can. That's a big EMP.
Yeah, Super down right away. Architect in a bit of trouble here. He's finally got his abilities back, but his teammates falling around him. Finally, he joins him as well, and that's going to be Gladiators getting a bit of stability here on B.
And they don't even take that first tick, thanks to the EMP hitting 3 players on the Shock. Surefour saving them as the Shock were collapsing onto the point. Architect now with another blade. We'll see if he tries to trade it for Shaz's trance again.
He got that and more with his blade on point A, that we just saw. Meanwhile, Fissure very close to Primal Rage. Architect just waiting for him. Trying to look threatening. Ooh, Sleepy caught by Silk Thread though. There goes Moth, so both supports down for Shock. This push is going to be hard to complete here unless they can get a lot more from themselves right now. They did get Shaz early, Fissure down. But with Super and Nevix falling, yeah, that's going to be a pullback from Shock. And, I mean, if you lose those supports, it's only a matter of time before you lose that war of attrition.
Yeah, and Shaz went down, so he didn't have a chance to use his Transcendence. And really, the San Francisco Shock don't get anything out of that push. Gladiators have been great with their ult economy so far today. They've been patient. Silk Thread, Fissure combining there for the initial kill.
Here we go, shot coming back in. They've got 2:20 on the clock, but they're already way short of the 4:02 in the time bank for the Gladiators. So they really need to get things done quick if they want to have any chance of fighting this out. The time bank mode, Sleepy avoids the pulse bomb. Dante down, Surefour with a big kill there. Architect pulls the blade out, gets the healing, but he's not getting the kills. Transcendence used way after he grabbed it. Shaz able to save that one and save his team in the process. Fissure with that Primal Rage pushing Shock back, and with that kill onto Super, that's going to be another delay. Shock, though, they're just going to kind of lose everybody else in the cleanup. But when they come back again, they should at least have a few ultimates to use.
Yeah, Surefour with another EMP. The discipline has been so good from the Gladiators.
Yeah.
Big Goose didn't use his Valkyrie, though. There, Shaz was able to get the Transcendence off to protect against the Dragon Blade. And now Architect wants to play that McCree the last minute and a half, trying to take out Surefour. This is the typical switch that we saw last stage to deal with these Sombras, because Surefour has just been unchecked.
Yeah. Definitely one of the better Sombras in the league, as we've seen kind of develop over the stages here.
Yeah, we haven't seen Dante play it either, who probably is the best Sombra in the league.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Take a look at it.
Goins gonna do the pressure on Sleepy. Oh, flashbang! Can he get away? No, not quite. Oh, that was a good flashbang from Architect, and that is why you run the McCree into a good Sombra.
And his EMP was interrupted, Dom.
Oh, yeah, it
so
was.
he actually caught in animation. That was a bold move by Surefour and not a good one.
How in the world do you catch a Sombra during the EMP animation? That's a quick animation. Shaz coming up big with 2 kills on the other side. Sleepy grabs one onto Bishu. Architect firing from on high. Manages to grab one onto Shaz himself, but the Gladiators still able to push Shock back again.
Hey, Nevix is on the point, but there just aren't enough members of the Shock to make a forceful push. Super's coming back with a Primal, but so are all the members of the Gladiators.
Big Goose over on the Ana too. Gonna go for the big anti-heal with that bio grenade. Shaz coming in with the Transcendence. Architect not finding anything with that. Well, with the ultimate, but I guess you're just gonna get it with the regular left click instead then.
No problem.
That works.
Fissure still has the Primal Rage. Gonna come back down, but gets killed by Sleepy. And now, maybe they can get back. Surefour on the Doomfist, but it's not gonna be enough to save them. They're still trying to stagger.
Another last second fight win. Shaz can't get to it. Can't get to the point with that main. That's gonna be Shock taking it in overtime.
As Shock is gonna make it through the map, but with no time. And it's gonna be a tall order for them.
Yep.
Here on Horizon with 4 minutes in the bank.
Let's take a look at that flashbang from Architect that came up so huge towards the end of that round. Was waiting for it. Watch for Surefour to come in here.
I mean, Surefour saw him from the flank.
Oh, wow.
I just don't understand. That was really risky by Surefour, because he came in on the flank and he knew, presumably, that flashbang was still up, because there hadn't been a fight that Architect had been engaged in before that. And went for, I think, a high-risk, relatively low-reward play. Got punished.
It's not something you see every day.
Now, not too punished. There's still 4 minutes to take on point A.
I think Gladiators are still okay on this map, yeah. Like you said, the Gladiators have 4 minutes and 2 seconds to take the first tick on point A to win the map. So, at the worst, they will tie here.
And the Gladiators are going to go for a similar style of attack. Surefour will probably switch up that Doomfist, but you never know. And San Francisco, they need to play this defense better on A. If they're trying to deal with these flankers, they have to be able to rotate Dante over onto the point and make sure that he's protected and can zone out the Tracer or the Sombra.
I actually like the Doomfist here. If you only need that tick, just go in as a battering ram. Just brute force your way onto the point. Get a couple picks here. Decides better of it, changes over to the Widowmaker here, but you do kind of see those brute force strategies sometimes when you have so much time and you only need that one tick.
Yeah, you definitely can pull something like that off, but you can also do it, of course, with the Widowmaker getting a pick from a distance. And Shaz and Silk Thread are both on the flank right now of the point. They're going to start pressuring it, and they're going to force San Francisco to rotate because they have such little wiggle room with that one tick.
Yeah, you've got to respond to this. Right now, Bishu challenging that high ground a little bit. Big Goose down. Big shot for Architect for the Shock defense. Bishu's going to barely get away here with his mech intact.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Hello.
Indeed. And we still see that Sombra lurking around. Shaz on the side here is going to get a hack onto Nevix, but not ultimately going to do a whole hell of a lot. Shaz And Silk Thread still on this flank, and they're just going to keep pressuring the point.
Yeah, why not? And, you know, a hack on the Nevix would be pretty nice.
So the thing is, they park Nevix there to prevent him from coming in stealth. So D.Va, because you don't have to reload, you have the sort of shotgun-style effect of those cannons. It decloaks the Sombra, which is why we see Nevix there.
It also interrupts the hack, too. It puts it on that 2-second cooldown. Big goose down, though. Super finds another one. And Shock with a good defense already. Dante taken out by Bishu, though. It's 1 for 1. I don't know. How much can Gladiators push this one? It's not going to be easy after losing Bishu. So 2:25 on the clock now. Shock already using up quite a bit of that time bank.
And now it's Silk Thread, Fissure, and Dante who are all over here. They're trying to spawn camp the Junkrat because they know he was the only one gone.
Yeah, that's right. And they will do that.
Brilliant. That was so good. Great call from the Gladiators, knowing there was going to be a 3-on-1 on the respawn. Now they can double back while their teammates are coming up.
Yeah, they've got ultimates too.
So there is going to be a Riptire, most likely from spawn from Dante. There it is.
That's exactly what he's doing. Silk Thread's going to know it's going to come from behind here. Pulse bomb used. That one got eaten. Nevix ready for it. Meanwhile, EMP comes in from Shaz. They get the kill on the Super and Architect right away. Moth falls. It's a chance for Gladiators to end it right here, right now. The tire did get Shaz in the end, but it's going to be the Gladiators coming way out on top, and they will go up to a 2-0 lead in the series.
That EMP hit all 5 people on the point, Doa, and
Not
even
bad.
though the Riptire managed to find the Sombra after the translocator was used, there's too much damage. Neither support hold on the Shock can be used. That's again a positional error. You can't keep everybody in line of sight like that.
A little bit of spawn camping equals a little bit of winning on Lunar Colony for the Gladiators. They're 2-0 in this series. Don't go anywhere, guys. Halftime coming up when we come back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
Gladiators are looking pretty comfortable with the new meta so far. They're up 2-0 over the Shock at the half. Welcome back, everybody. Malik here. We got Brent. We got Reinforced in the building. Guys, a lot of talk about Brigitte coming in to stage 4. Everybody was ranting, raving, crying about her. But we got to see her for a round, and I got to know, what are you guys' thoughts so far?
I've been loving it, Johnny. I don't know about you, because this is a very diverse meta.
It's a happy medium.
Yeah, happy medium, right? Because, I mean, again, just a reminder at home, new Hanzo, you know, the new and improved Hanzo that you might be playing with in your games, is not in the stage 4 meta right now. So we're seeing actually a real diverse sort of meta developing here, where we're seeing Orisa spam compositions, we're seeing the dive still being played, we're seeing Reinhardt Zarya compositions as well. It's a huge mixture of different heroes being played. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's really just the teams picking what they're the most comfortable with. Some teams, they have a fantastic Genji player. They want to bring that Genji player out. And we know Architect for that reason, right? So we see the San Francisco Shock, they're playing a lot of dive with the Genji because that's what they're really comfortable with. Meanwhile, the Gladiators, we know that Fisher has a brilliant Reinhardt, as well as fantastic Sombra play. We've seen a lot of Sombra play from the Gladiators so far this season. And we really see both of these teams playing what they're the most comfortable with. And so far, it's working out better for the Gladiators.
Right. You know, I've been enjoying it. I'm with you, Brent. I'm enjoying the amount of diversity that we've been seeing so far. Hopefully, we see a lot more as the stage progresses. But you know what? One thing I was super excited about being at this desk was getting some insight from you, Johnny, the former pro.
Oh, yeah.
So can we get some insight, my guy?
Oh, some insights. Power by Intel, yes. So we're going to take a look at this Reinhardt composition, right? Because the San Francisco Shock, they rolled out with the Reinhardt and Zarya. And that's what we love to see, Bren. I love to see it. You love to see it?
Yeah, I love to see it.
But it's very heal dependent. So we see Ana with the coming out from Sleepy, of course. You want a priority grenade to perhaps punish the Gladiators to prevent heal coming in for the team. And so how are the Gladiators punishing this? We're going to take a look at Silk. He's just now getting his ultimate. That's why it's flashing so much. And this Junkrat tire is going to be so important when Super is contesting this point on the Reinhardt. So Silk Thread has his tire, and he's going to shut down Sleepy on this Ana. And what happens when you take out the Ana in this equation? We're seeing that this composition from San Francisco Shock now, they pretty much have to force their way in, because they can't rely on the healing anymore. You have Nevix on the Brigitte, and you have Moth on the Lucio, but that healing output will not really help this Reinhardt comp. Exactly, it's so low. And you're running into Silk Thread's Junkrat and a Widowmaker that can find picks. And so because Silk Thread picks out Sleepy on the Ana in this composition, you lose the healing, and the San Francisco Shock, they will just get poked down. So really, to use Brent's favorite word, very cerebral play coming out from Silk Thread there. And I love how they shut down the healing. If you go for the Zarya, on Sinatra, of course, he can use his barrier and he can prevent the damage. He can apply it to not Fisher, it's Super playing for the Shock, and prevent that Junkrat damage. But instead, he opts for Sleepy, no healing for the side of San Francisco Shock, and they just poke it down. And they just poke it down. They've done it so far this entire series.
Right. You know what? A big standout for me had to definitely be Fisher. We didn't see any 6-second Earth shatters or anything of that nature, but I think he did his thing. In this
cut it out. No, no more. It was 2 weeks ago.
Johnny
Stop
gets
it.
demolished by Fisher and ranked. But Fisher, you're exactly right, Malik, because he was playing absolutely incredibly well. And this is just some small plays by him, getting off some excellent blocks all around with these Earth Shatters, really playing his fullest. That is insane reaction time to block that. And I mean, Ronnie, Johnny, you said yourself, Reinhardt is kind of like the Widowmaker of tanks. Like,
did I? What?
Yeah, you did. At some point, you told me this.
Elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, because the skill ceiling of Reinhardt is so high, but this was also so cool because you can really synergize with the Brigitte these days as well. You use a stun onto the Reinhardt, gets rid of his shield, and it sets you up for a lovely, nice and easy
you can't blame Super, right? Because he's running into Fisher.
No, it's not his fault at all.
I mean, Super, maybe he could have saved his Earth Shatters, perhaps not risk ulting the shield of Fisher, of course, but instead he took some risks, and Fisher, I mean, he shut him down overall that game on Blizzard World, so pretty easy win.
But this is what's impressive about Fisher, though, as well, is the fact that he can play both the Reinhardt and the Winston at such a high level, which is what we've been talking about for so long. Because we haven't seen much of his Reinhardt come out, but he was always known, as Doe was saying earlier, in Apex, he was really quite a frightening Reinhardt player. This guy was very powerful in that role, and now Gladiators are really being unlocked because they're really showing that they can play so many different compositions, and they're comfortable on all of them. And again, we said it before, Gladiators are going to be a team that are going to be showing up a lot of these teams and upsetting them because they're not in the standings right now. They're not in the playoff runnings, but they're still really trying to get those wins to get into the playoffs overall. And this is now a team that is starting to look quite scary.
Right. They definitely were popping off in that first half. Actually, let's take a look back at how the Gladiators were able to lock up that first half in the first place.
Yeah, we mentioned for a bit, of course, what they were playing. Here on the Blizzard World, we see Reinhardt coming out from Fisher, of course, and as I said, he shut down Fisher pretty good on this map, and you can't blame him. There was some good Brigitte play coming out of Bishu as well, actually setting him up for these Earth Shatters. So really good teamwork coming out of the Gladiators. They seem to have figured out how to play this Reinhardt composition as good as you can pretty much so far.
Yeah, and the main danger really of playing these compositions as well is like, there was a lot of question marks, you know, a lot of these team fights are decided by a lot of these gravitons, but it's not too bad. And I mean, Architect, in this first match, he has really been a star player for Shock in terms of really having that clutch potential. And there was a danger that we wouldn't really be seeing it as much with the new meta that we're seeing, but he has found these moments in the game. Unfortunately, not quite enough to win out map 1, but he's still really trying to drag his team to the finish line almost.
Yeah, even on map 2, he couldn't really get much done, and much credit to Gladiators here. Silk thread on the Tracer.
Oh my goodness.
He was popping off on this, and we haven't seen it from him before. Surefour on the Widowmaker, and I sort of questioned myself, oh, is Silk thread's Tracer gonna be up there? We've seen a lot of shaky Tracer players so far in the league, but he really popped off, and then Surefour on the Sombra shut down the dives from the Shock.
This was tasty.
This was the only play.
Oh my goodness.
And again, it comes back to the conversation, like Architect, this star play, he's making plays like that. If you didn't catch what he just did there, he used a flashbang to cancel the EMP coming out from Gladiators. Crazy reaction times to get a play like that. But ultimately, again, Gladiators coming out on top with the superior compositions. They were more comfortable running those comps. You know, we saw, again, some weird stuff coming out with Shaz on the Sombra as well as Surefour a little bit early on Horizon. So they are really flexing their sort of, you know, flexibility almost in terms of these
I was
games.
going to say muscles there.
I have no muscles, Johnny.
The versatility, they were flexing it.
They were flexing it.
It looked like the Gladiators definitely went in with like a solid game plan. They dropped Brigitte right away, like they knew that was the plan, that was what they were going to do. What did the San Francisco Shock, though? What did they have to do to get back into this game?
I feel like they were a little bit too slow in making essential switches on the Blizzard World in particular, because they were running into this spam composition.
Remind me of a comp match.
Monty actually mentioned this during the match. He said that you know, Shock, they switched too slowly because they were a bit hesitant to switch away from Brigitte because they had the rally up. They didn't want to waste that ultimate. But in that scenario, when you're just failing to get anything done into a spam composition, you just want to switch all to full dive. Which
you played versus the Junkrat and Widowmaker before. You know how to shut it down, so you don't have to complicate things too much.
All right, guys, that's it for halftime. Before we go, we got to let you know that here at the Blizzard Arena tomorrow, we're giving away Overwatch League mouse pads to everyone in attendance. These right here. So if you want to get this sweet Overwatch League mouse pad, be sure to get your tickets at access.com. I love new mouse pad smell. This new mouse pad smells pretty good. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
I kind of hate it though. Like in the same way that, like, you know, tennis balls are kind of hit and miss. You know, tennis balls, the smell of tennis balls.
I get what you're saying. I just like that this thing is nice and simple.
A new card smell.
I've been seeing all kinds of crazy mouse pads
You guys
like
gotta stop
butts on
smelling
them.
Stuff. No, don't tell me that, please.
Don't tell me that. But anyways, guys, we got the second half coming up, so we'll be right back.
If you're in the Los Angeles area, come experience Overwatch League live at Blizzard Arena. For tickets, check out access.com.
Welcome back, guys, to the Overwatch League. Don Monte Cristo here, and we are in the thick of it between the LA Gladiators and the San Francisco Shock. Right now, the Gladiators up 2 games over Shock, and really kind of showing us, I think they have come out ahead as far as early mastery of the meta goes. They really seem to know what they're doing.
They look on point, but I think they're getting away with a lot as well because, like the desk was referencing, the compositional changes from the Shock have been late. So I think that when we've seen the big plays from the Shock, the big Dragon Blades, the big McCree plays from Architect, it's because they're late that these plays aren't happening sooner. They're taking too long to set it up.
True enough. And if we're feeling parched, don't worry. Hydration is here for Silk Thread. He subbed in for the Gladiators as we move towards Lijiang Tower. And Sinatra back in again for Dante on the San Francisco Shock side of things.
Yeah, not too surprising. I think if we do see a control center, which will not be our first point, it will be Gardens, we may have some Doomfist, of course, from Hydration.
Yeah.
So possibilities for some interesting heroes with Hydration back in the mix.
I think we'll see a good amount of Brigitte on this map as well. I think most of the points on Lijiang Tower can support that triple support playstyle that we've been seeing a little bit here, but I'm curious to see. That's the thing. I was really excited coming into Stage 4 because when we heard we were kind of staying on this patch, it was like, this is actually a patch that, yeah, Brigitte is going to be strong, but it also opens up a lot of compositional opportunities, and I think we're already starting to see some of that. And different comps coming out for both teams right now, too, as we get things started here on Garden. It's going to be triple support from the Gladiators. Meanwhile, Shock going for a bit of a classic here.
Yeah, they have Sleepy over on the Ana again on the side of the Shock.
Yeah.
So no mercy for the San Francisco Shock. As Reinforce is talking about on the desk, that means if we do see that Ana go down, it is lower healing.
Yep.
So you have to be very careful about how you play with space.
You also have to protect that Ana too, because if you lose her, then there's basically no healing for a lot of people on your team.
The advantage, though, is if you get onto the point like the Shock have by using the speed boost, then you're able to protect that Ana, and it's very hard for the Gladiators to push in.
Well, especially with a Pharah comp, right? I mean, Pharah's a defensive here on these points. Oh, that's a fast nano boost onto Super. He's got that Earth Shatter.
Nope.
Yeah,
Not going to use it. Fisher backing off.
Mind games.
The nano boost has been used on Super before, but they haven't yet to get good value out of it. The mind games are here. Fisher does not have a Shatter yet.
Oh, Fisher knocked up into the air here. Now the barrage comes in from Hydration. Got Sinatra before he got nailed with the sleep dart, but he's okay.
Oh, the Shatter!
Oh, Earth Shatter comes in. Pushes Shock back just a little bit here. And meanwhile, Big Goose getting the res, trying to anyway. Oh, Nevix gets him with the self-destruct. Fisher gonna take another nap, and it is gonna be Shock continuing to build that control meter, but now Gladiators finally able to flip it over.
Yeah, they are able to flip it over, but still a lot of percent already gained by the Shock. Now, do you switch off right now? Doesn't really matter if you have another nano boost if you're the Shock, and your sound barrier is so far away from completion. I think the Zen Mercy swap now is probably the direction you want to go, but San Francisco is staying with what they already had despite dumping a lot of ults in that last fight.
It's gonna be hard to approach here.
Now look at the armor still on the Gladiator side from the rally.
Yeah, that's right. Hydration gets Architect early on the Pharah v Pharah, and there goes Super in the Rhine v Rhine. The 1v1s have come up big for Gladiators. Sleepy picked off on the way out. Hydration getting aggressive, and that's going to be Shock sent packing.
And this is what I don't understand about what the Shock are doing. What is this nano boost going to accomplish for you? You can switch off now because you know you're going to have to economy push into the rally. Shaz and Sureforce still have a lot of that extra armor on them underneath those shields, and they're continuing to go with the same style of play. Sureforce is going to have another Graviton here, so probably maybe another 2 pushes for even San Francisco to retake the point.
They're going to try here. Going in now, the nano boost goes in onto Sinatra, gets that grab really fast, throws it in. Hydration comes in with the barrage though, and Gladiator's going to turn it around, reverse barrage from Architect, gets Big Goose, but Shad's there with the Transcendence to keep the rest of the Gladiators safe and sound.
I mean, when you come in and both teams are throwing out the grabs like we saw, Shaz has an advantage because he has the Transcendence.
Yeah.
The Nano Boost is not doing anything for the Shock right now. This is another instance of the Shock not swapping soon enough like we saw earlier.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe you want to get like the Sleep Dart on the Reinhardt or something like that, or on a tank, but it's just, I just can't see how Shock is going to be able to push this into a win on this point here. They've got the sound barrier, they're going to try going in with that. So there's a big Earth Shadow though coming in. Fissure does get pushed back before he can land the charge onto Sinatra. They get Super anyway though with the kill. Meanwhile, Mercy ult coming down the Gladiator side. Oh, and Fisher sent to his doom in the virtual koi pond here on Gardens. Bishu with a couple kills here. And that's going to be Gladiators pushing Shock back again. That's going to be Gardens secured. Yep, that's it. Gladiators getting the first round here on Lijiang Tower.
I really liked how the Shock started off that map with the slow push into the point, protecting the Ana. But after they lost that initial round, the Shock should have been happy just to get those 40% off of their first push and then change to a composition that was going to be more effective, because retaking with that comp is so difficult.
Yeah.
And okay, you have the sound barrier for that last fight, but guess what? Bishu's there with the rally, and there's just not a whole lot you can do.
We've seen teams use Ana before to try to use those nano boosts that you get fairly frequently to kind of supercharge the Zarya and get faster gravitons, but you need to, it's kind of weird when you've got all these shields preventing damage done that the Ana could heal and then get the nano boost faster. So
well, the nano
was
was
a bit weird.
It was also going on to super, and the Gladiators were playing well around the nano boost. Fisher was even in this map and in the previous ones where they've used it, like on Blizzard World, there was never really an opportunity for that nano to do damage.
All right, so it's going to be triple support on both sides going into Night Market now. They're going to stick with the Ana Lucio, but this time Nevix on the Brigida Gladiator, so going to just walk right in. Fisher's going to charge, actually, and finish off Sinatra, and that's going to be the Gladiators putting themselves in a chance and a point to take the point early.
Hey, Hydration getting the initial pickoff onto a support again just powers up the Gladiators to move through. Without that Mercy, they can't use the Resurrect to erase their mistakes, and San Francisco going to be sticking with this again. This retake is going to be just as difficult as it was before, and they don't have any answer to Hydration at all.
That's right, a little bit of healing onto the Zarya here. Hydration, like you said, shooting from on high, and nobody able to really respond to this, besides maybe Nevix, who's back on the Diva now. And there's a barrage coming in, super in trouble. There's Moth, nearly taken down too. They're gonna charge after him here. Big Goose comes in with the res on the Bijou. Nice pin on the Moth, oh man. You know, you may be able to wall ride, but Fissure can floor ride, and sometimes that catches up with you.
Skating right in there.
That's right. A devastating floor ride.
I mean, I don't know what to say at Doha. Like, San Francisco, when they have matched the composition, when they've made those adjustments, they've looked so good. We've seen the big plays on previous maps.
Yeah, sure.
And they're going to try and do it here. They have a Graviton. They have a way to get in. There's the grab, but there is the Transcendence right as a counter.
Yep, that's right. Preventing a lot of the damage coming in. Architect, meanwhile, does get the kill into Surefour with that tire, though. Sleepy down. Finish off Bishu before that. Super waiting on that Earth Shatter. Here come the Rhine Mind Games.
The Rind Games,
The Rind Games. Shock on the point, though. They've got a good position here to try to flip it.
Yeah,
Hydration down.
Yeah, it's going to be a stagger. You'll notice that they're not... Bishu died right before he could get the rally.
Oh, Fissure. Oh, but Super stunned immediately as he comes in with that charge. Fissure still took a lot of damage, but he stayed alive. Not now. They finally finish off that fight.
The price, pretty darn high. And because Bishu died right before he got the rally, he's going to be coming back with it. This next fight will be matched by the sound barrier on the side of the Shock. So they are in a situation now where they may be able to hold Sleepy in the back line. Have to use the grenade on himself, actually, to keep himself healed up. And Architect being sneaky.
Yeah, flanking. Shaz is in big trouble here. Gets finished off with a concussion mine. And now Sinatra with that nano boost going after the rest of the members of the Gladiators. Gets Earth Shattered, though. He's still got the grab. Can't use it. Bishu finishes him off with the whip shot. And now Gladiators trying to win this fight here. Hydration brought back to life. Shock still building percentage, but the Gladiators coming in with the advantage.
They still have a lot of armor. Hydration going to be taken out mid-air by Architect, but with Sleepy down, Architect has to use that tire immediately. Does manage to get it off, but Shaz will take him out while he's ulting.
Meanwhile, Moth and Lucio has to exit the fight for the moment. Bring back in, there's a Graviton surge from the Shock side. Transcendence used. Oh, but Fissure caught by that self-destruct. They went for the bigger bang, and they got the tank at least out of it.
And they also interrupted the res. Big Goose can't get the res off onto Fissure. Nice work by Nevix to displace him during the animation.
Yep. That's right. That's one thing to think about is with the Brigida, you have multiple ways to counter that Mercy red. You can knock her away with the whip shot, or you can just stun her with the shield bash.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Gladiators approaching. They're in one fight territory right now. Moth is going to be killed, knocked over the edge.
Yep. think that Moth could fly, but not this time.
Architect again with a flank onto the back lines. Does get punished as Surefour turns around.
Yeah, but it's 98%, 99 now for Shock. We're into overtime. They're trying to tie this one up here. Oh, but there's a grab, and Fissure comes charging through Sleepy. Gets the kill on him, though. And Shock is going to have to fight Surefour. Oh, Earthshatter comes in. Shock laying Surefour low for the moment, but hydration not affected by it. He's going to come in with the barrage, and that's going to be Gladiators turning this one around. 99% for the Shock, though.
They're going to maybe get Architect, and they will.
They
He
do.
can't quite escape around the corner. Huge pick here. And it's going to be one push territory now as the San Francisco Shock attempt to re-engage. Sound barrier, maybe all they have to work with.
And Gladiators is going to have at least 2 defensive ultimates here, too, between the Rally and the Valkyrie. Sound barrier used by Shock as they come in. Oh, nice Earthshatter on the Nevix. But Fissure's going to have to run away. Got booped, he ran into the wall. Couldn't get to his team. Meanwhile, Shock trying to flip this one back. They use a Rally for Bishu. There's a Transcendence coming in for Shaz. All the support ultimates used for Gladiators as they try to grind this fight out against Sinatra. Knocked off the edge, it looked like. And that's going to be Moth and Super going down now. Shock were so close, but they are in big trouble now as the Gladiators will be able to turn this one around and grab the 2-0 on Lijiang Tower.
Impressive fortitude from the Gladiators, not switching up too much from the last meta.
Yep.
And this is what we're going to see, Noah. Teams are going to struggle to figure this out because when the Shock looked good in this match, even though they are down, they have lost. When they looked good, they were on point. But again, it just takes a little bit more of a rapid adjustment. Gladiators seem more comfortable, more at home.
Shock making the individual plays, but Gladiators making the team plays. I think is a good way to describe it. One more map to go. We will see if Shock can get a win on the board when we come back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
The damage available. And Boyer has so much ability to be able to just get away from players like Linkser on the Tracer. Now getting very close, building up the ult, and there it is. Oh, okay, the coalescence coming out here. Jaehong's just giving the Houston Outlaws a good hosing down. Oh, they're clean indeed. But that push from Seoul was nothing but dirty.
You have to be able to be part of a team. You need to be at the right place at the right time.
They know exactly what they want to do every fight.
People talk about history. I want to be in that discussion.
Welcome back, guys, to the Overwatch League. Right now, the LA Gladiators up 3 over San Francisco Shock, and just kind of showing a great understanding of the meta so far, being more reactive in their compositional changes. Shock certainly showing us some great individual play from players like Architect, Sinatra, but kind of struggling to kind of put it all together, you know?
Yeah, they have been struggling as a unit to make those changes. I think they probably still have some language issues, but some good individual playmaking as well. I also like what the Gladiators have done, which is they've sort of kept a lot of what we would have seen in previous stages with some minor adjustment, putting their toes in the water of this patch without really committing to it, I think, in the same wholesale way that we're seeing the San Francisco Shock. And the Shock are sort of forgetting how to play against a lot of these standard strategies that are being thrown at them. They may have been in the new patch waters for too long and lost a little bit of touch with how to counter some of the more standard strategies that we're seeing from LA.
It's been awkward. Asher back in for hydration on the LA Gladiators side as we look ahead to Watch Point Gibraltar. No changes, I believe, on the San Francisco Shock side of things, but it's already a match win for the Gladiators, but Shock still has a chance to at least get a map win anyway. And this is the map that they are 2 and 3 on this one, but so are the Gladiators historically. And yeah, I know historic stats don't really matter in the new meta, but traditionally, this has been the weakest map type for the Gladiators, too.
And there is a hint, too, for the Gladiators coming in that they're going to continue to not switch up so much. If Asher's in, it probably means Widow Tracer, which was very dominant overall on this map in particular when we've seen it in previous stages.
Could still be. But you never know. Could be something completely different. I wouldn't mind. And if they stick with what I don't think they're going to stick with what they're putting together on the Gladiators side.
They sure won't.
You don't think Asher's going to play the Reinhardt, Monty?
No. Nope. I don't think that's probably going to happen. There's an outside shot that Sure4 plays the Hanzo, though. As we can see, Architect on the Widowmaker, so Widow Tracer is the name of the day. Nothing changing for the San Francisco Shock. This is exactly what we would have seen in previous stages on Gibraltar defense.
Yeah. And some of those maps that are much more wide open and have a lot of high ground to contend with, you're not going to see as much Brigitte on because you have to kind of bring people down to your level and fight them face to face if Brigitte is going to work quite as well. So it's not a big surprise if we see that here is a little bit less on Gibraltar.
Yeah, also it has to be said that we will see less Widowmaker this stage, but a lot of that is because of the map pool, and this is still a fantastic map, basically through all 3 stages for the Widow.
That's right. Sure4 sticking with the Hanzo for the moment. Nope, there's the swap over the Widowmaker. All right, just firing out that Sonic Arrow to get a glimpse of where Shock was.
And no surprises from either team's mirrored compositions. Everybody going back to what's always worked really well on Gibraltar. Occasionally you do see like Widow Genji, that's another, especially on attack composition that you could run to punish people in the server room or in some of those corridors. Asher is going to get domed. And so will Sure4, okay, whatever.
Architect just deciding to kill both DPS. He's like, you know what? I don't want you to push that payload.
Certainly doesn't.
Goes Fissure.
Okay, Fissure actually, he tried to push the payload a little bit by himself and got punished on the way out. So that's a stagger that they're going to want back in the end because now the payload going to be...
Or just not want in the first place.
Yeah, not want in the first place. Asher gonna... Peek. It's a good flick from Architect. And you can see Architect plays on a pretty high sensitivity. He does have some very fast movements on his crosshairs, different than a lot of the Widowmaker players that we see.
That's right. Kind of like Pine in that way. Also plays on a pretty high sense. All right, so far so good. For Shock, Gladiators are pushing that payload now. They got to drop down. Asher with the kill on the Sleepy to start things off. Gladiators picking off one of the supports. Shaz down as well. It's a bad day for Zenyatta so far in Gibraltar.
Yeah, they're going to use...
Oh, Big Goose gets the res on theirs, though.
Yeah, they are going to get the Resurrection. Sleepy still trying to make it all the way back to the payload. San Francisco Shock has to get ground as a result. Nice pick on the Bishu, but Shaz
You didn't see the Zen. You never see the Zen coming into the side. Oh, and a pulse bomb from Asher. That's a good one, and that's going to be point A for the Gladiators. No doubt about that.
Trying to push back right now. Everybody getting out of dodge. Sinatra falling back with the rest of his teammates. Super was revived and nearly picked off again.
And not dodging was actually the problem there. So it's,
yeah, true.
Yeah. Want a little bit more dodge, in fact. Enjoy it.
It's where the expression doesn't really hold up, does it?
not an FPS so much. Not an Overwatch quite as much. Gladiators with a lot of ultimates coming into point B here. Sinatra down already. Shaz finds him in the 1v1. They get the Transcendence out of Sleepy right away. You're now Architect in a bit of trouble. Asher going to cause some trouble, and he's going to back away.
Another disaster for the Shock. So what happened there was Moth went in for the Resurrection, but then Bishu boosted with the Diva, pushed him out of position, and they punished after that. So San Francisco playing a little too fast and loose right now, taking some risks on their positioning and then their reses afterwards that are easily punished by the Gladiators.
Yeah, Surefour has to back away as Super comes in. Meanwhile, Bishu jumps in there with Fissure, and they get the kill on the Sleepy. Fissure now, Primal Rage, getting super aggressive, just trying to keep Shock back to finish off B, but I don't know, okay. Architect in a lot of trouble. He's going to try to grapple away, but he's, barely makes it out for the moment. Yeah, Super down. Asher finds him with the Pulse Bomb. Fissure getting a little bit too aggressive here in the payload. Doesn't quite get to the end of B. That was maybe a bit of an overreach on the Gladiator side.
I think I agree with you on that one, Doa. Yeah. Definitely, but they did force a lot of ults out, so Shock still gonna be hurting at the end. However, both support ults also used on the side of the Gladiators. And Architect is going to get the position. And this is where it's really hard to crack if you are an attacking team. If you get pushed out, those doorways are punishing, as Sinatra and Architect are so aptly demonstrating.
Yep. Carving the supports off of the Gladiators' attack here. Going to send them back to spawn. You know what I always wondered is, why doesn't anyone just start flying the ship that's in there? Yeah, I'm sure that
fly it straight out of the hangar?
Yeah, just like, go right through the wall.
Make a bigger choke point, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But you probably don't want to do that if you're the Shock and in control of it. Don't want to make a bigger opening.
This would be an attacking strategy, is flying the ship to the end of it. Too bad you can't like push the payload up in there and just fly away with the payload. Oh, Pulse Bomb. No kills out of that one. That's what I would do. I would just skip point C and just fly the payload away. Our Architect gets Surefour in the 1v1. Widow v Widow going the way of Architect quite a bit today, despite how good Surefour is on that hero.
You can see Super right now trying to zone Asher out back towards the rest of his team. Shock controlling here the hangar, and it's so difficult to get back in if you give up the high ground again to the defensive side.
Yeah.
So a sort of series of eco pushes that you're going to need to build up the ultimates necessary to push through, but it has worked so far. Fissure has managed to make some space. He's going to try and come around the side and deal with Nevix.
Yeah, they've got the ult to use here. Big Goose pops at Valkyrie. And Gladiators creating a little bit of space anyway. Architect taking the high ground on that Widowmaker. On board with him now as he looks for the shots on a maybe Big Goose or Surefour. Surefour watching though, he kind of knows where he is. There's a Transcendence. Gladiators going in on this one. This is the push they want to try to finish B with. Fissure using that prime, or not using the Primal Rage quite yet, but he does have it.
Yeah, force Super to pop his with very low value, and now they're going to come in, try and open this up with a self-destruct, but the supports are in trouble on the side of the Gladiators.
That Big Goose has to back away. Meanwhile, Shaz kind of fighting for his life as well. Architect gets the kill on the Asher, so Shock still holding strong, and now less than a minute remaining for the Gladiators to try to finish B. Fissure with the Primal Rage, but I don't know how far they're going to be able to get the payload here. Super did go down. They're going to need more than that. Whoa! And Fissure sent flying.
And Nevix zoned the rest of the Gladiators out with the self-destruct, so it's just Fissure with the Primal Rage around the payload. Architect will find the kill.
Well, Architect has really been the standout player on Shock today. He's had so many nice individual plays on the McCree, on the Junkrat, and on the Widowmaker. There you go. Wow, what a flick. Finish off Fissure.
I mean, he so far has had nearly half of the final blows on his team.
Not surprising. Fissure gets stuck. That's another great start for San Francisco coming in. They're going to try to get the res. Big Goose pops at Valkyrie. They can't quite get there, it seems like. Surefour down. Fissure does get resed eventually, but they cost him their Genji. Big Goose in a lot of trouble, taking a lot of damage, has to be pushed away. Now goes back in the little room. Transcendence used by Shaz as Gladiators try to just force this one out, but I don't know about this. I don't know if it's going to work. Shock kind of all over them right now. They Gotta try to keep pushing. Super with the Primal Rage. Draws out the self-destruct. Loses some health, but not a whole lot. Shock all over the payload right now. Asher and Fissure go down. There finally are the kills they need. And that should basically seal the deal. Yeah, Bishu taken out by the Pulse Bomb in the end, and that's going to be a good hold by San Francisco here on Gibraltar.
Yeah, especially because of how fast Point A went. It looked like Gladiators were going to get a lot of time, push through very quickly, but in the end, Gladiators only have 11 eliminations compared to the 24 of the San Francisco Shock, so they bounce back in a really good way, but that's going to be indicative of a lot of what we see on Gibraltar. It really is do or die on Point B. If you can't push through as the attacking team and control the high ground, you're going to be stopped in those choke points. Those doors are so small, and against an enemy Widowmaker who has position, who has a mercy damage boost on them, it's really, really hard to retake that ground if you seed it in the first place.
Well, as kind of Overwatch has evolved, we've seen Gibraltar become more and more of a defensive map, right? I mean, first it was so hard to take C, and now it's just really hard to take B.
Yeah, and you saw it in the San Francisco Shock's decision-making, too, because they didn't try and stall out at the end of A. In fact, Super got rezzed, and instead of trying to stall the card at the end of A, went back to rejoin the team, and then put themselves in a better position for defending B, which really did a lot. So I think we're going to see a lot fewer panic defenses at the end of A from teams as they realize that the positional advantage in B is just worth way, way more than getting another 20 seconds off the clock.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you end up losing a fight at the end of A, you can't get set up for the defense on top of the ship, and then you kind of just give up most of that point.
Yeah, I think that defensive point is really going to be emphasized throughout this stage by these teams as a result of that. And I like what we saw the Shock do. And the Shock looked better when they were playing a more old style of composition, right?
Sure. I mean, that's what they're used to, right? I mean, and you know, all these teams still kind of figuring out the meta, coming in with varying degrees of practice.
Well, it's really hard because as a team, you have to make a decision of, are we going to experiment more with the new heroes that may be really powerful, or are we going to go back on what we know and what we're good at, but it may not be exactly ideal for the meta?
I mean, with Shock as a team kind of on the outside looking in and the bigger playoff picture, you'd think they would be one of the teams more willing to experiment, since this year kind of from the beginning was sort of a building year with them waiting for Super and Sinatra to hit 18 and be able to play and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true, and they have done that experimentation. It hasn't yielded the most success today, but they also may have a jump start on refining these compositions throughout the rest of the stage. So we'll see how they do.
Shock had a good stage 3 too. They came out 6-4 at the end of that. So certainly, I think it's been a good looking year as far as what the future holds for Shock. But even if they don't make the overall playoffs, which seems unlikely now, certainly additions like Architect certainly giving a lot of positive vibes to the Shock fans out there. It's going to be a fast point A.
Yeah, really fast. Just off the back of a pick from Sinatra that opened up the fight. Not a lot to say there. Slow roll. And you know what? Gladiators are not going to get the position here on the high ground in point B, especially with the split spawn onto Shaz. That is just brutal.
Sadness, man. Came back, had to use that old spawn, and was right out in the open. Easy pickings for Shock. Now Super with the Primal Rage. Bulldozing his way through the tank line, and that's going to be Gladiators having to give up even more ground on B here. This might actually be a fast map.
I think it is, though. San Francisco Shock already way up in percent on those support ultimates. Shaz only at 50% right now. Fissure may be able to stall out long enough, but they have to get through these choke points on the other side right now, and that is going to be a trick.
Oh, yeah. Architect watching those doors. Has to escape here now. Sinatra dodges the dive as it comes in. Surefire down early. Architect found him. He got him. There goes Big Goose. Nevix with the finisher, and Shock continues to just annihilate the Gladiators here at Gibraltar. Pulse Bomb doesn't get much for Sinatra, but doesn't matter. Architect right there to finish it off. And there's Sinatra with one finally. On to Fissure, and that's going to be that. It's going to be Shock taking a quick map 4, but it'll still be the LA Gladiators in the end, coming out ahead in this series 3-1.
And comfortable Shock looks very different than Shock on some of those new heroes. Yeah. But we'll see how they do in the rest of the stage. For now, though, LA Gladiators tight in their teamwork, using the new heroes, the new meta, selectively and effectively on the first 3 maps, and that's going to net them the win.
I think that was what Gladiators did in this series. It was a great preview of, I think, what we're going to see in stage 4, where we're going to see teams get very good at figuring out what maps Brigitte, those new compositions, are going to work best on, and kind of being very adaptable. So it's cool. I think we're in for a great stage.
I think we are too, Doa. Gladiators and the Shock giving us the taste of what's to come for the rest of the day and the rest of the month.
That's right. Man, pretty amazing individual plays on the Shock side, though. Architect, living highlight reel in the series despite the Shock loss. Hey, you must have been watching Architect right there. I know how you feel, man. That's why I look, too. We're going to go back to the desk after the break, guys, to have them break down this series. Lots more Overwatch League action coming up today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
Welcome back, one and all. Please put your hands together for Bishu and the LA Gladiators, who took the victory in this very first match of the day. Now, the last time you guys faced off against each other was in Stage 3, Week 1, Day 1. So also the opening of the stage. And the result was pretty much the same, just the other way around. Was that in the back of your minds at all?
I don't think so. I think we know how strong we are as a team right now. Like, if anything, we've been only improving since Stage 1. Stage 1 was pretty bad, not gonna lie. But ever since then, we've really come a long way. And yeah, we lost to Shock last time, but it's a new stage, whole new meta. I think we have it relatively figured out. Our coaches have been working their butts off. So I'm pretty confident in this meta right now.
All right, well, I can't wait to see more of you guys in the upcoming few weeks. Now, it looked coordinated, it looked really well prepared. How much practice time did you guys actually have during the downtime?
I think a lot of teams had more or less the same practice hours. We were practicing since Sunday, so, but we've been playing 3 blocks and everyone's been a little tired and cranky, but it paid off. And, but yeah, I think teams more or less only had 2-3 days to practice, so I don't think any one team has like a really big advantage over others right now.
All right, well, you opened up this stage with a boom. Congratulations to you and your team. I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of that. But for now, let's head over to the desk to break down the action.
Thank you very much, Zoe. The Gladiators get the 3-1 victory, kicking off stage 4 with a bang. Guys, let's go ahead and break this thing down and look at how they got that W, man. Pretty dominating victory from the Gladiators, I would say.
Yeah, they played super well. Like Bishu was saying in the interview, you know, they've had a bit more scrum time. Not too much more scrum time than other teams, but I think it actually really showed, to be honest. They were comfortable in a lot of these comps, against a lot of the comps that Shock were throwing at them. And Lijiang Tower really just the icing on the cake. And again, we saw similar sort of mistakes coming out from Shock. Again, the adaptations really being a little bit too slow. They weren't really doing anything to shut down Hydration's fire.
But overall, I think that the Gladiators, they played a much more sort of default composition when it comes to this new meta we're experiencing. We see the Mercy Senora has been in their hydration. We know them for fantastic Pharah play overall. So they just played very basic stuff. San Francisco Shock were all the time trying to throw some curveballs in there, trying to play fancy compositions, Sleepy on the Ana, trying to get the biotic grenades onto the Gladiators and play off that. But it never really worked out until the very final map when we saw Architect on the Widowmaker start to pop off.
Yeah, and even then it was Shock, again, going back to the basics almost with their own composition.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Gibraltar was a map, you can't really run tank-based compositions with the Reinhardt and Zarya. You have to run dive because of how much high ground Gibraltar as a map actually has. And we did see, again, Architect and Sinatra finally start to shine here. Architect was shining throughout the entire series, but Sinatra in a sort of synergy duo with him, really getting a lot of these picks and forcing Gladiators to reset.
I mean, just the mechanical skill from Sinatra we're aware of, but it was a bit surprising to me anyway that Architect managed to shut down Surefour the way he did.
Oh my goodness,
because we talked about Surefour as one of the best Widowmakers last stage, and Architect, I mean, he was on fire this game. He had some sick final blows throughout this map, and well-deserved, you have to say, that they won the final map on Gibraltar.
Absolutely.
But we have to talk about hydration on the Pharah, because on Lijiang Tower, he was the man that definitely won the Gladiators that map. His Pharah play was fantastic. The Shock played Junkrat throughout and didn't really counter him in any way.
The only thing that was trying to shut him down was Sleepy on the Ana, trying to go for the shots. We saw like multiple times, and you know, again, it's a minor thing, but when you're avoiding when you're trying to focus all your attention onto shutting down hydration in particular on the Pharah, it's like you're taking time away from healing and then really paying attention to the rest of the game. So yeah, it was a bit of a mismanagement there when it comes to the composition.
Right, hydration was great. I'm a little teary at the fact that he didn't play any Doomfist. I was kind of hoping he would, but it really wasn't necessary. Another player that you guys mentioned did its thing was definitely Architect. Let's look at some of the plays that he had during the game. He was really popping off.
Yeah, really big performance on Gibraltar in general. I mean, again, it's a bittersweet almost because they didn't win the map, but it was Architect was playing so well this entire series. You know, he was making plays. Doe was mentioning it on McCree, you know, on the Junkrat, and now on the Widowmaker. So he was really shining in Gibraltar in particular because it suits his sort of play style very well.
Absolutely, and he can play pretty much every hero that he needs to, especially in this meta, because we're moving into a meta with a lot of uncertainty. What are we going to see? Will we see any new Hanzo? Probably. And Architect, I can guarantee you, Architect knows how to handle a Hanzo as well. So he has been the star player for the San Francisco Shock so far, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays moving forward.
Right. Well, Architect did his thing, but now it is time for us to crown our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP, and that is Silk Thread.
Yeah, it is Silk Thread. Now, a lot of people would have expected Fisher, but I think it is Silk Thread because he shut down the Shock on the Junkrat. But Tracer on Horizon, he was phenomenal as well, and pretty much he's just racking up the kills and eliminations all the way. And then the Zarya on the Lijiang Tower map was really impressive as well because he was very patient with his Zarya shield, shutting down Sleepy, making sure that Sleepy on the Ana with the biotic grenades didn't get any value whatsoever. So overall, very flexible player with a really impressive performance here today.
Yeah, big fan of this. I feel like we didn't really do him justice in the pre-show when we were talking about a lot of the players on Gladiators. Silk Thread didn't really come up despite the fact that we knew he was starting, and he showed up big time, you know, a big part of the reason why they played so well. Tracer was phenomenal. He really pulled that out of seemingly nowhere because it's so rare that we do see him on that role. Again, just all around really set up Gladiators for the win.
Do you guys feel like this meta benefits Silk Thread quite a bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Again, he's super comfortable on a lot of these hit scan roles. The way Gladiators work around him as well to really sort of enable him in a lot of these compositions. It's one definitely that Gladiators, I mean, again, we keep saying it, this entire squad is going to be very happy moving into this meta.
That's right. Well, the Gladiators win our first match of Stage 4. We got another hometown team coming up next, though. It's the Valiant versus the Seoul Dynasty after the break.